What's up guys, James from Twisted Assisted here. Doing a video today. We're going to do a comparison video between two Twisted Assisted knives that we sell. They're both £50 and I just wanted to explain their differences. I've had a few customers get in contact recently talking about the fit and finish of the Sheffield slip joints and their previous experiences of Twisted Assisted have been, say, a Mini Dundee or an Atlas, and these customers were slightly dismayed with the level of fit and finish of the Sheffield made slip joints because their only point of reference have been the other knives that they have purchased. So today I'm going to be talking about the differences in production between these two knives as an example. I'm going to explain the process, and I'm also going to explain why you can't lump these two knives together. You can't judge one by the other because they are both very, very different animals indeed. The modern production knife has been made with CNC, computerized, fully automated factory, and just very modern production methods indeed, and has been assembled. This knife, on the other hand, this has been traditionally made, and it is a handmade, hand-finished knife. And so we're just going to talk about the differences between the two, what to expect, what not to expect, and to give you some background into why the Sheffield slip joints manufactured by Arthur Wright are a little bit special. Essentially, the one that comes to my mind is that this is a knife which has been made in a very sophisticated factory, and at the end of all of that has been assembled. And this is a knife which has been made in a factory traditionally, which it's been authentically made as it would have been done 100 years ago. The machinery used in the production of this knife is vintage. These machines, 1920s, some of the machines are even Victorian. Okay, it's part of the charm. You know, these are just honest to God, traditionally made Sheffield slip joints. And by the end of this video, I'm hoping that you are going to perhaps view them in a slightly different light, and that you will love them as much as I do, warts and all. Some of you, of course, will be familiar, and this video isn't for you. This is just for people that have owned our knives previously. They've bought one of our TA traditional slip joints and made in Sheffield, and they're thinking to themselves, well, hang on, well, you know, there's a little mark on the handle there, and the blade isn't completely symmetrically ground on each side. The sharpening edge is a little bit different, or it's not perfectly centered. Well, I'm going to just explain a little bit more about the production methods used in the manufacture of this knife, and why these things are explainable, if not excusable. The modern factories that we use in China are able to mass produce at an amazing scale. The Mini Dundee, we had about 1,100 made for us. That you've got, by the end of it, by the time they're assembled and lubricated and put in a box, you have essentially 1,100 knives which are identical. You know, to a tiny tolerance, all of these knives will be identical. There's no individuality, and that's what we want. We want perfectly centered blades. We want perfection. That's part of the appeal, and that most certainly does have its place. When you buy a traditionally made slip joint, the machinery used is older, But the main difference is that this knife is not assembled. This knife is handmade. The components, the blade, the liners, the back spring, they've all been stamped out using very, very antiquated equipment. And they've all been stamped out, and then somebody at a workbench will assemble this knife on a jig. They will put through these brass pins, and they will be hand peened, i.e. banged with a hammer until the brass pins bite. The nickel silver bolsters are soldered to the liner by hand. Once this knife is assembled, it is then put on a linisher, a big belt sander, and then ground down by hand. This knife is not like any other knife. You know, if Arthur Wright made me 20 of these, they're all different. They're all slightly different because they are handmade. Now, that explains away a lot of the, maybe on there'll always be something that you can pick out. You know, if you look at 1,000 Mini Dundees, you can't find any difference between them. But these are all individual. Let's talk about the cost. So we are able to import and bring you a Mini Dundee, 1,100 of them, and we can afford to sell them at £50 each. And for that, you get near as damn it engineering perfection. Very functional, usable knife. So this is the same price. Well, this isn't made in China. This is made in Sheffield, in Steel City. And with that, let's just break down the costing of this knife a little bit, and to give us an idea of what they're worth. So if we sell them for £50, £10 of that is VAT. So immediately it's a £40 knife. Then you have to account for our markup. So this is sold at wholesale to us. So the figure goes down even more. Then you've got to take off what Arthur Wright has outlaid in materials, what they've outlaid for maintenance of all the machines in the factory. That figure just 40, 30, it just keeps going down and down and down. So how much time is actually there for the craftsman at the workbench to actually work on this knife? Okay, somebody isn't sitting at a workbench for 4 hours getting everything absolutely perfect. They've got a whole tray of 100 knives to do. So I'm not saying they're rushing, but they are finishing each one of these knives to a certain standard to allow them to be sold at £50 and be available to everybody. Everybody can have a taste of a traditionally made Sheffield slip joint. That does explain away a lot of the tiny imperfections, but there's also two different ways to actually look at imperfections. One person will say imperfection. I say it's character. It's individuality. It's a piece of history. A lot of the things that you can fix yourself. So if the grind on the secondary bevel, the cutting edge, isn't quite uniform, you can fix that with a bit of sharpening. You know, if there's a little scuff on the blade, well, you know, get a bit of wet and dry paper and sort it out. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't have a £50 knife and for somebody in the UK to sit at a workbench and to work for 3 hours to get everything by and large spot on. It just, you can't have that. You know, that's why there are custom knives available, which are several £100s and reflect the amount of time that the craftsman has actually spent on it. So I hope that gives a little bit of context to the Sheffield TA slip joints that we've got. We've just had a big delivery of them from Arthur Wright's in Sheffield. So check out the link in the description to go and have a look. And I just think it's very, very important just to have a full overview of all of the facts before judging, some of the quirky qualities of this knife. Of course, every now and then, one will slip through quality control. If you've got a slip joint, which is the blade is rubbing against the liner, or there's a very obvious defect, then of course that is completely, you're completely justified in letting us know about that, and we will replace or refund you. That's fine. But for the tiny little imperfections that exist on these, I think it's always good to offer up some context for why they're there, how cheap these knives are really in reality. Those guys in Sheffield, they're working really, really long days. There's not many of them left in Sheffield. I mean, quite literally, they are the pilot light that is being kept on, keeping this alive. And in the blink of an eye, it could be gone. So it's really super to own a piece of history, to support something that is handmade in the UK. And I hope this video has been useful, just in your just in the way that you appraise these knives. This one is assembled, high-tech factory. This one is handmade in the UK by some very, very dedicated people. And we at Twisted Sister are super proud to be able to offer these knives to our customers. I hope that's helpful. Please let me know in the comments how you feel about it. Like I say, I'm not knocking anybody that has been perhaps dismayed or unhappy with the level of fit and finish on the Arthur Wright knives. In a way, I'm respectfully responding to your concerns, and I hope that you guys have found this video interesting and beneficial, that you've got a bit of background now into how these knives are manufactured. All right, guys, thanks for watching.